Hi, I'd like to talk to you about provision. If you remember when Abraham was going to sacrifice his son Isaac, and there was a ram in the bush, and he called that place Jehovah Jireh, and we call him the Lord our provider. But there's an interesting thing about that whole thing and about provision. God had already made provision for Abraham. Abraham thought the plan was one thing, that he thought that he was being instructed by God to sacrifice his son, his only son of promise. But in fact, God had already made a provision by having a ram caught in the thicket. I just want to remind you today that God is our place of provision, and he is also our provider. God makes a way for us even before we get into challenging times. Isn't it interesting? Even before it was necessary, the provision was already made for Abraham. He didn't have to sacrifice his son. God had already made a provision. As you enter challenging times and as things seem to be a little difficult for you, remember that he is Jehovah Jireh, the Lord our provider, and he already has a provision waiting for us even before we encounter challenging times. My name is Jody Meza. This is Faith in Action, living faithfully and prospering abundantly.